Welcome to qnawire.
Okay, so in this problem, we have an oil tanker that is moving at some initial velocity, and it is on a collision course with a coral reef, and it's an oil tanker specifically. And then there are two parts to this problem. We want to see if the ship will impact the reef, and if it does, will it have an impact velocity of greater than 0.2 meters per second? Because in that case, the ship will break open and oil will spill into the coral reef, and that will not be a good thing. So again, that's what we're calculating. So let me call this the delta x max, the maximum distance that the ship can go, which indicates that the coral reef is 500 meters away, half a kilometer. And then the ship is massive. It has a mass of 3.6 times 10 to the 7th kilograms. And then our last piece of information is that the deceleration force that the engines are now thrusting backwards is 8 times 10 to the 4th newtons. Okay, so we have the mass and the force. So let's go ahead and use Newton's second law in order to turn that into a numerical deceleration. So that is just a matter of plugging those numbers in. Times 10 to the 4th, 3.6 times 10 to the 7th. And then this will give us a deceleration of negative 2.22 times 10 to the minus 3 meters per square second. So, it's a massive object. So the deceleration is going to be very, very small. So now we can use the following kinematics equation in order to find the velocity, the final velocity of the tanker, given this maximum displacement. So note that we will be taking a square root, and let me make that really, really explicit. So if for some reason we are forced to take the square root of a negative number, in other words, get an imaginary answer, then that means that this situation is not physically realizable, which means that the tanker will not come into contact with the coral reef, which would be a good thing. But we have to plug in the numbers to find out. So let's do that initial velocity, 1.5 square meters. We have the 2, and then a lot more 2's with the deceleration. And then lastly, that 500 meters that we're traveling. So we do indeed get a positive number inside the square roots, which means that we will come into contact with the coral reef. But thankfully, we will hit the coral reef at only 0.17 meters per second, which is smaller than that critical value of 0.2 meters per second. So to write it down in words, yes, we will hit the reef. But also, yes, the oil will be safe.